Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to wonderful White Plains. A little bit of a cloudy but nice summer day for the July joint NYPA and Canal Corporation board meeting. As always, it's a pleasure to see everyone. We have a full squad turnout. My fellow board members, Mike Cusick, Lori Wheelock, Dennis Trainer, Louis Warren, Cecily Morris, and B. Gonzalez. So welcome, team, along with Justin and the beginnings of the assemblage that will accumulate as we proceed through our process. As always, this meeting was duly noticed as required by open meetings law, and hence I'll officially formally call it to order. We've all had a chance to review the agenda as presented. Unless there's any thoughts or ideas on amendments to the agenda, I'd ask for a motion to adopt it as presented. Dennis, thank you. Second, Louis. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Agenda has been adopted. As always, Karen circulated those on which we were taking action relative to any conflicts anyone might have. So I think everyone's responded. Karen, you're good to go. Unless anyone has some late breaking conflicts, we're ready to rock and roll through that. Okay, as we typically do, we will start an executive session. We've got, I think, a terrific agenda that Justin and the team will lead us through. A variety of presentations. A lot of great work is always being done here. Critical time for us as a state, as well as the Power Authority and Canals Corp in particular. Brian's here, I saw, and he's going to give us a little canals update. So kind of a mid-year cycle, a couple committee reports on the back end. But as we typically do, we will start with relatively limited executive session. So I'd ask for a motion to conduct an executive session pursuant to Section 105 of the Public Officers Law. So Lori, thank you. Dennis, Lori, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We will adjourn to exec session. Thank you very much. If I could ask for a motion to resume the meeting in open session. Lori, thank you. Michael, second. Thanks very much. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're back in open session. And as always, no votes were taken while in exec session. All right, as the setup front, had a good, informative, hopefully entertaining agenda ahead. Justin will kick us off. Joe Kessler's team will catch us up on the operations side. Adam will impart some wisdom and finance perspective. Alexis and her team on the risk front. Brian's here to give us a mid-year update on canals and whether the water's flowing there. Lori on legal, and then a couple committee reports. So should be a good couple hours here. Justin, kick us off, please.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to White Plains. Amazing that we're here and almost finished with the summer already. So it's moving. It's moving fast. No booing, please. No booing. Yeah, we've got, as you mentioned, we've got a full agenda today. And as we've, in the last few meetings, we've come to you with sort of a theme that cuts across the various officers' reports. And so today it's going to be around preparedness. And so you'll hear from all of us a little bit about preparedness efforts around the authority, both internally and externally in the work we do. But first, I wanted to start off just with a couple of items of good news. We learned last week that we were notified by the Department of Energy Grid Deployment Office that we received an award of roughly $46 million on the Propel transmission line project. And this
better than a blue ribbon. That's very good.
Exactly. I'm going to start off positive.
Right.
And this will enable us to do community work in some of the communities that are going to be is impacted, or where the line is going to be built. So, as we've talked to you before about
community work.
So The line goes through various towns when it comes onto Long Island. Some of those are disadvantaged communities, and there's a big effort in some of these grant applications to be able to identify projects that you can do to benefit disadvantaged communities in the work that you're doing. So our focus here was to seek an award to help us facilitate some of that community work. These could be small energy projects. They could be other direct community funding opportunities, but the money would be, and it's TBD on how we're going to deploy it. Now that we know, that we've been successful, we'll be working hard to try to identify a timing of how that money will be distributed.
Is this pool of funding that will be available to communities to tap into, or that we're going to
available deploy? To us for us to deploy?
We would deploy.
Correct. So it'll essentially underpin there's always community work on these projects, as you know. So this will underpin and support and help us do more in the communities as we develop this project. So we're really excited about that. As we've talked to you before in the past, this is a very unique time in our industry with the amount of funds that have been made available by the federal government. And so we've been working hard to try to identify opportunities for us to tap into those funds. And this is a great example of the great work that the team did in seeking and now getting a positive response to one of our applications. And these applications rounds will keep coming. There's already a new funding round that's opening up. So we'll continue to look for ways that we can seek out. So
these aren't cost offsets. These are additional dollars we can invest in the community.
Correct. And then the other one, as you know, we've been tasked with working with our state agency partners on their decarbonization efforts of their state facilities. And we were pleased to learn that our customer, the Office of General Services, has been issued and provided $100 million of State Bond Act money to support and fund the decarbonization of the New York State Capitol, Empire State Plaza. So we'll be working closely with the customer to make use of that funding and get those projects underway. That's a major multi-phase project. But I know our customer and that the Office of General Services and our NYPA team that's been working closely with them. I was delighted to learn that we've been given a piece of the Bond Act funding. So two really good developments over the last couple of weeks that I wanted to share with you. Also, as I now regularly do at board meetings, a quick update on what we call our expanded authority from last year's state budget. I'm going to talk about three of the work streams today: renewables, the peaker decarbonization, and the workforce training efforts that we're doing. So on the renewable side, as you know, the statute has directed us to spend 2024 in the stakeholder outreach and strategic planning process. We kicked that off last year with our conferral report and the conferral efforts we did with stakeholders. We're now in round 2 of the conferral exercise, making sure that we're touching all the communities that are interested in this work. We're also going to be holding several public hearings in the fall, and then that'll culminate in a report that we'll come to you with in either December or January, and it's due to be filed with the state legislature on January 31. So at this point, as we work toward developing projects and looking for development opportunities, both for us to do independent or what we would call greenfield projects, but also projects that we might do with a partner, we're looking at both projects that are already in development that might be looking for a partner to step in to help them get the project over the finish line. And so we're at what we're calling now a fatal flaw due diligence exercise, where we're looking at all the projects that have come to us, make sure that these are projects that could actually get developed. So the team is working on this due diligence exercise right now, and I'm pleased to share that the current pipeline of projects that we're looking at totals 3.5 gigawatts at the moment, with a couple of those projects even being able to potentially come online in late 2025 or 2026. So we've got the work stream of existing projects where we're looking to see if we can help a project, move along faster, if you will, help the state, accelerate its progress towards goals, but also looking at development opportunities around the state, both on state land. We're looking at some of the state agency land availability to see whether we could develop projects there. We also bid on a couple of projects in the city. So the work is really exciting, and we're looking forward to coming back in the fall with more details around the draft strategic plan, which we'll socialize, and then we'll have public hearings, plenty of opportunity for the community to engage with us. We created an email address and a website to make sure that we're hearing from everybody that's interested in this work. And like I said, we're excited about the progress we've made to date.
Coming back to the projects, 3.5 gigs there, would you say those are projects that wouldn't happen without our involvement, or are happening sooner at a minimum because of our involvement? I mean, we're just trying to determine.
I'd say both. I would say both in answer to that question. I'd say that there are some projects that, for one reason or another, or would welcome a partner. It could be, as I think we've discussed in the past, it could be projects where, for one reason or another, a developer wants to move on and recycle its capital to go to a different, project, or maybe have a project somewhere else that's under some financial distress or whatever, and we'd be looking for a partner to help step in and complete a project here. But there are also projects that we would look to develop on our own. So it's going to be a mixed bag. But
our involvement's a difference maker. I'm just trying to. We aren't jumping on a moving train. I mean, we're a stimulus for making something happen that otherwise wouldn't, was stuck in the mud or whatever. So
agreed. I mean, we bring a lot, as you know, we bring a lot of unique characteristics to the table in project development. Not only our internal expertise, but some of our, our financial structuring and so forth, and our ability to raise capital. So I would say that it's both of those.
Great.
And so the next item I wanted to just touch on briefly is the peaker decarbonization efforts. As you know, under the law last year, we're committed to retiring the peaker plants by 2030. As we've said publicly, it's not going to be an all or nothing thing where they all get retired at the same time. I think there are some that can be potentially repurposed before 2030. So we've already had an RFP out for battery storage opportunities for some of the sites. And now we're moving on an additional site. This is what we call the Kent Avenue plant in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And what we're doing is we're going to be issuing an RFI seeking ideas about what potential opportunities there would be for that site when the plant were retired. So we'll be casting a pretty wide net to see what we get in the RFI, and then that'll inform the development of an RFP subsequent to that, which is sort of the way we have traditionally done some of this work. We did that with the renewables, where we issued an RFI, and then we subsequently issued an RFP, follow on RFP for actual development opportunities. So more to come on the Kent site. But
where are we in the peaker? So that's
one. Yeah, so that's one. We also have the RFP that's out there where we're negotiating with battery storage developers. So we've that would be four of the peaker sites of the six.
Okay.
And so, like I said, it's going to be an ongoing thing. Yeah. They all have their own unique characteristics in terms of their contribution to the system in their neighborhood. So they're not a sort of cookie cutter thing. Some are more important from a reliability standpoint than others. So we're working closely with the NYSO and talking to Con Ed as well about those facilities, and obviously with new renewable resources and the Champlain Hudson Power Express coming online relatively soon. Those new resources will help us in our thinking around which plants can be retired sooner than others. But again, it's against the 2030 statutory deadline.
But as the 2030 statutory deadline is slides a bit here or whatever, and demand increases, does that change how we think about, the peaker plants and alternative use? Or
yeah, I mean, again, I think there's a lot going on. It's a very dynamic time in the industry. We've got the offshore wind new solicitation just issued last week for new offshore wind projects. We've got the Champlain Hudson Power Express line. We've got the Clean Path line that we're working on. So all these resources are going to make that process achievable. But it's a dynamic, environment. You have as we see upstate, energy demands increase, decrease. So we'll have to be staying very closely connected with the NYSO in terms of the determinations around the various plants.
Okay.
And then the third item is on the workforce training effort. This is, as I know you'll recall, the $25 million annual contribution that we're making toward workforce training to enable the development of the clean energy workforce of the future. This is work that's really exciting for us and rewarding as well. I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce Sandra Bleckman, who's here with us today. She's our new project director for workforce training, and has been a great addition to the team. Comes to us with a strong background in workforce training, and we're delighted to have her on the team with us. So as I mentioned earlier, the kind of cross-cutting theme for today is preparedness. And so you're going to be hearing from in our officers' reports from both utility operations and customer solutions and in the sustainability group around the integrated reporting. And then we'll hear from Adam Barsky, our CFO, on our ongoing financial stability. All this in terms of how we're both set up to be prepared, both obviously big part of our business continuity and risk approach to continuing to maintain the business, but also just how each individual business unit kind of factors those concepts into their decision making. And then after that, we'll hear from Brian Stratton, as you mentioned, with a quick update on the Canal Bicentennial and a report on other canal activities. And the final item in my presentation is something that I've been talking to you about for some time now, and some of you have participated in some of this work in the past. But for an organization like us, we always have to be focused on the next generation of leaders here at the company. We owe it to the Power Authority to make sure that we have a deep and talented bench. And so while we're always doing succession planning as we make day-to-day decisions around the business, I asked the team to elevate that process again. We've done it once in the past, in the time that I've been here anyway, to make sure that we're ensuring the continued success of the authority. And so what we're doing is we're changing the focus from just traditional succession planning to what we're calling people planning. But the idea there is to make sure that we're identifying talent across the entire organization, but also giving employees an opportunity to grow within the company, to maybe potentially work in other aspects of the business, to nurture their development and make sure that we're ensuring that the Power Authority will have a very talented and deep bench for many years to come. So we're doing that by expanding talent opportunities across the organization. We're doing trainings, and we hope to see increased employee engagement. I think I mentioned to you recently, we had an engagement survey recently that showed increased level of engagement across the organization. So we think all those factors working together can help us continue to develop our workforce. And just in terms of this slide here, why is this important? I think this sort of states in many ways, some obvious factors here. We've got an incredibly dynamic energy sector. So the talent needed to run the organization is always evolving as we work on new energy technologies and other developments in the energy industry. We also have our expanded authority from last year, where we have a we've essentially opened up a new business line here within the Power Authority in terms of the work we're doing on renewables. So the skill set is always changing, and obviously it continues to be a very competitive sector. So we're competing with the investor-owned utilities and private developers and others for talent. So these are the external drivers, and then organizationally, like I said, we're looking to foster career mobility within the organization. We want to potentially protect against loss of talent to competitors, as I mentioned, given the competitive dynamic that we face, and then of course continue to focus on our DEI efforts. And so just to summarize kind of where we are in this process, we kicked off the people planning pilots, and Karina Saslow, our head of HR, has been working very hard on rolling this out. We also have begun to have each EMC member, senior leadership, start to think about their succession planning for their roles, but not only theirs, but also levels down below that too. What's the next level of folks to be thinking about in terms of continued development. So we're going to continue to work on this, and this is going to be a two-year effort that'll culminate at the end of 2025, and we'll come back to you, and we'll keep you updated.
Start all over.
Exactly.
Right.
And we'll come back.
It's a continuum.
Yes, we'll keep you posted along the way, but I think this is a really important time for us to be doing this. As I mentioned, just the changing landscape in the energy sector, new responsibilities that we have, increased competitiveness. But on the other hand, I think increased interest in our field. I think we're finding that we're able to attract people to our industry. I think a lot of folks we speak to are attracted to the mission. We're unique in that way. We have a public mission. We're doing all the cool stuff. We're doing all the great energy work.
Always have, but now it's even more in the forefront.
Yeah, right? But we have that. We also have that mission that sometimes is more attractive, and so we're excited about that. And I think I'll stop there and take any questions.
People talent, obviously, critical for any organization. So important we, maintain a focus and periodically sharpen it. So, terrific. Thoughts for Justin? Anybody? Laura?
Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you, Justin. And thank you to everyone, NYPA, Canals, the public. As I sit here today, I realized, I think yesterday, that for us new trustees, we can't call ourselves new anymore. We've been here for a year. It's pretty wild, and learned so much, and just thank you all for that. Really exciting about the 3.5, megawatts. That's
gigawatts.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, not that. Thank you. I know, even more exciting.
Electrifying. Right.
Yeah, because I think, sitting here and looking at the summer, we've had extreme heat waves, crazy weather with tornadoes. There's just kind of a general anxiety. Reliability of the grid is, very much on my mind on a daily basis. And I know it is with all of us as well. And so with that, and then I think just greater questions at the state level of when, how, what is our role in hitting the CLCPA targets? What are the numbers that are achievable? It's exciting to hear this. We've probably learned a lot as well. We are now on to our second conferral report, and it sounds like we are kind of, doing some more public outreach. Can you talk a little bit about what we learned from that conferral report into this one, how we are, seeking transparency, accountability, engagement with the public? I think that's all really important because, again, looking at where we're at, we all need to be in this together.
I think certainly from what we've learned is there's intense interest in climate change more broadly and in the role that NYPA can play to move the needle. I think there's becoming a greater understanding in how we operate and the role that we can play. And I think that there's a recognition of the commitment that we've made to this new authority and new direction we've received. One of the things that comes to mind for me when we look back at how we learned from the conferral process is really the interest in the REACH program, which is the program designed to provide bill credits to low-income communities. And one of the things as we talked to stakeholders around that was that while there are some groups that just want renewable energy put on the system, there are other important stakeholders that actually want to feel like they're participating in the transition. They want to have a community solar project in their neighborhood that they can see and say, that's where I get my energy. So I think it's creating, being mindful of the need to have a balance between just putting big utility scale renewables on the system wherever they are around the state, but also trying to bring along those communities so they feel like they're part of the transition as well. And then in terms of the engagement, we've created, as I mentioned, an email address and we'll take input from anyone that's interested in this process. We have updates on our website. Try to give an update here at the board meetings. I mean, we're happy to meet or talk to whoever is interested in this work.
Beautiful. Really appreciate that. Before I get my third cup of coffee for the morning, as someone who lives in Albany, it's very exciting. The plazas are our playground. I've said that to many of you before. Really exciting to hear about, the plaza redevelopment and knowing there's many phases and a lot of commitment and a lot going on. I think it would be helpful to potentially offer a briefing for us trustees just to understand that and maybe some of the other projects, because I think there are about 10. And so I think that would be excellent to have some more, one-on-one focus
at our next meeting.
So yeah, thank you.
I have a question, more observation. I really appreciate the NYPA clips, but sometimes they get me down some really interesting rabbit holes. And the rabbit hole that I'm going down today is around the North Country article about solar worker conditions, right? The conditions under which the solar energy workers are struggling. And I just want to make sure that as we build out these projects, we think about that, right? And how we change those conditions in a way that really improves the quality of life for everybody.
I agreed. I mean, again, given the unique role, I think we can lead by example in some of this work.
Absolutely. So that was my rabbit hole around those
Good rabbit hole.
Dennis likes that.
Yeah, I like that one. Anything else for Justin?
NPR.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Justin.
Thanks.
Good kickoff. Joe, are you stepping to the podium, or you're deferring to Brad and Maribel?
I will, in the spirit of succession planning and the fact that I was here last week on vacation, I'm going to turn over to the team that makes me look good every month, and actually the whole organization look good.
Brad,
so Brad's up, and he'll introduce Maribel. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, trustees, members of the public, and NYPA colleagues. As Joe mentioned, I'm Brad Van Auken, the SVP of Operations Support Services and the Chief Engineer. And today I'll be talking a little bit about some good news, some things that we've been doing in utility operations. So next slide, please. The first thing I'll be presenting today is to inform you of our successful surveillance audit that we just had in June. This was to maintain our certification with the International Asset Management Standard, ISO 55001. NYPA maintains our conformance with these requirements as specified in this international standard. NYPA has been and continues to be a leader in this area within the North American utility industry. This surveillance audit was conducted in June, yielded no major or minor nonconformances. A lot of good recommendations came out of it, but nothing from a negative perspective. The auditors selected 3 locations. These are independent auditors that we bring in from the outside. They selected 3 locations to visit in person. NYPA's audit team from our Clark Energy Center, Flynn in Long Island, as well as St. Lawrence plant, help facilitate and exude the growing confidence in NYPA's asset management system. The teams also demonstrated real awareness of what is required to operate, maintain, and manage our transmission and generation assets. This audit team is very impressed with our governance, as well as not just the governance and the process and the procedures, but also our practical and demonstrated application of the standard and how we conduct our day-to-day business. So this was a surveillance audit. We're required to go every year and do a surveillance check-in And then every 3 years, we have to go through a full-blown audit, and that full-blown audit will come up again in 2025, next year. So our team is constantly adjusting and preparing and getting ready for the next audit and improving ourselves. Next slide, please. The next slide here, this is also happy to report out that we conducted our first ever NYPA and Canal's unmanned aircraft system, so UAS Fly Day event, which was a June 12th and 13th in Utica at our New York Energy Zone. This event showcased 80 of our employee pilots from management and union who actively participated in a variety of presentations and flight trainings. Management and union employees presented together on various UAS use cases, shared lessons learned in the areas of transmission, dam safety, construction, security, safety, plant operations, crisis management, corporate comms, and customer delivery. This was a great example of our collaboration between management and our union employees who are all very passionate about this. This year to date, we have conducted over 802 UAS flights have been flown. And every time we do so, we learn more and more and come up with different applications of the technology. Next slide, please.
Talk a little bit more about what we're using. You said 802 flights.
So there
more than 802. So if that's 803 or what it is, but at least 802.
As of today, it was 802. That was this morning, but it's over a variety of things. I would say primarily we've really focused in on safety, especially on our transmission system. So we're able to now do very detailed inspections of our transmission towers. So less
that we weren't able to do before, or
yes. So what we would have had to do is basically send people up and down in various conditions. So in the cold, hot weather, it's obviously very difficult work to do. But now we're able to get drones up in the air. They can actually take very detailed digital images of the equipment, and using AI as well as our expertise from our own staff, our own transmission folks are able to zoom in and identify problems that sometimes in the past weren't even identifiable to the naked eye, but they are because the pictures and the images are so much more detailed. So that's on the transmission side. We're also using it heavily on our dam safety side. So we have the ability to now fly automated drone missions where the drone will take off and go on a predetermined mission and take hundreds of pictures of our dams, and then come back, and we're able to analyze the pictures and see if for any deficiencies using AI digital technologies. And again, it's interesting because some of the pictures, the actual film pictures, are less detailed than some of the digital images are. And again, there's a safety component because we don't have to send people out. We don't have to build scaffolding. We don't have to put people on the face of a dam anymore. So tons of applications. I would say at the canals is another great example. We're able to now go up and kind of fly the embankments and look for seeps. Whereas before, which we still do, you have people walking and looking for soft areas. But now our digital technology in these drones is able to actually identify water in soft seeping areas, so then we can deploy people and assets to.
So it's more efficient and more effective. It's really a double benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something we're using in conjunction with human element as well as the digital element, and they complement each other.
You see us continue to expand the program, and is there a need and a benefit for even more of it?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Last year, about a year ago, the board did approve a large initiative and program for us. So we are in the works now of building out that program. The more and more we use it, the more we share amongst each other and the people in the field. We find more and more ideas and more things to use it for. And plus, within the industry, we're out sharing this information. We're hearing what others are doing. And we get a lot of interest from other utilities, other agencies and authorities come to us and ask us, well, how did you do this? And we're just able to share a lot.
Are we ahead of the curve then, you're saying, Brad, for the most part?
I would say yes. I think NYPA is definitely a leader in this area, and a lot of other utilities and are looking to us at how we've done things and kind of model their programs off of what we've done so far.
Terrific. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Sure, thank you. Okay, next slide, please. And then in the theme of summer preparedness, just wanted to mention, with all the hot weather we've had lately, we thought it would be appropriate to talk a little bit about this. So our NYPA and Canals Crisis Management Team has conducted our annual summer preparedness workshop back in May. We do this every year for summer as well as for winter. All NYPA and Canals regions have completed their preparedness measures and are well positioned to handle the challenges associated with the summertime. We've already successfully navigated some very significant heat waves throughout the state, and NYPA's assets have performed well thus far. Current weather predictions do show for a continued warmer summer season. As we can feel it this week, things are heating up again, and actually a higher than normal forecast from the National Weather Service for a higher than normal hurricane season as well. I think the forecast shows that there will be forecasted more storms this year than there were last year. I mean, what happened? We'll see what happens. Forecasts are only as good as they are until it happens. But NYPA and Canals teams, we participated in several hurricane preparedness exercises internally, externally, and we have a well-developed storm response plan, which utilizes our incident command system. And again, we're confident that we've incorporated lessons learned. We've had hurricanes in the past, Hurricane Irene, Tropical Storm Lee, Sandy, and we've had a lot of lessons learned from those, and we've incorporated that into our planning. So we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to address anything that's thrown at us.
Fingers crossed. Right?
Yes, sir, as always.
Feel confident until we don't, but great.
Yeah.
And this year we had tornadoes to the list.
And tornadoes. But that's it for me, unless anybody has any other questions. Okay, I'd be happy to turn it over to Maribel Cruz, and she's going to cover the customer solutions portion. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, Trustees, NYPA colleagues, and members of the public. It's my honor to be able to share this month's customer solutions highlights, continuing where Brad kicked off on summer preparedness and where Justin launched us. We'll be speaking to the first slide, if you don't mind, please. Speaking to how the Energy Resource Management team has been working with utility operations and others across the organization to manage the heat wave. So a quick recap on our ERM group. They serve two primary functions. In addition to a bunch of roles and responsibilities, they primarily conduct our load serving entity functions, which is forecasting, scheduling, and settlement of customers' load. And in addition to that, they work very closely with all of our generation units to ensure that we bid in the day ahead in real-time energy markets with the NYSO. And so our ERM team has given us a quick few little highlights here. Quick little fact, our New York control area is forecasting the peak to be just shy of 30,000 megawatts this summer. And for comparison, the record was just shy of 34,000 megawatts, and that was in July of 2013, so just 11 years ago. As I mentioned, the ERM and the entire operations team has taken and continues to take necessary measures to ensure our systems continue to perform in New York State during the heat wave. This is being done with continuous monitoring of the NYSO system, site coordination to ensure readiness, and measure the impact of extreme weather on our systems and resources, increased communication with ECC system operators, and the utilization of subscription services and system models for alerts and real-time information on system events. I want to take a quick moment to highlight some work that the team has been doing over the past, 6 to 8 months. ERM, utility operations, the risk team, our sustainability team, and finance have been working to ensure that our hydro models are updated and up to par in order for us to really react to the short-term and long-term variability in our hydro flows. So that's something that is definitely an impact on our bottom line. So NYPA successfully navigated not just the first, but multiple heat waves, and our fuel supply management strategies protected our position strongly here. For our hydro assets, the team ensured, optimized water resources and conservative management of reservoirs to ensure availability. to respond to system needs such as blackouts and voltage support. And with our fossil units, we increase supplier pool to mitigate delivery and availability against interruptions. You will hear more about the year-to-date performance and variables affecting our above-target performance in the finance report. But to conclude this slide, performance today for the summer capability period has yielded that NYPA generator assets performed as expected during the first heat wave of summer 2024. And over the 6-day period, assets generated more than 3 times forecasted in our merchant gross margin. That's over 287% with a yield of $7.75 million compared to the 2.7 that had been forecasted. So we'll continue to work with groups across the organization to ensure our preparedness for the rest of the summer. The next topic.
No major concerns or exposures?
Not at all. Internally with our generation assets or externally with other factors like the OFOs or the operating flow restrictions for gas.
Okay.
Thank you. One of our favorite segments of the customer solutions or the COO update is the highlight for customers. This month we are reacting to your request already so quickly. We will highlight the Office of General Services or OGS, which is a tremendous partner for us, and our CPD team and our key account management team just continues to expand this portfolio. So there's various categories, the completed projects. This one that I really want to highlight, and this was a recent event that we completed in May of this year. It happened to be the second New York State fleet event in which Commissioner Moore and her executive team had the vision to bring electric vehicles into the Empire State Plaza, a tremendous asset for New York State, and make these electric vehicles available for hands-on experience, not only for governmental agencies for fleet electrification, but also to the private sector and any members of the public walking around the plaza. So this was just a great way to increase awareness of not only what type of vehicles are out there, what kind of incentives are out there, but also, how many DCFCs or how many other chargers have been installed across the state. And we were excited because our e-mobility team was able to partner with OGS over the past 2 years to really make this a really successful event. An active project that we're really proud of is working with our NYPA Ventures team and OGS at the Duryea building. And this is where we're focusing on virtual power plants and the successful integration of DERMS, right? Of solar plus storage systems, electric vehicle to grid operations. Now we are leaders in this space, and what we're looking to do is just exactly what we did with the electric vehicle space. We want to inform policy. We want to inform the market. We want to see how these systems operate together. And OGS is a leader because they're partnering with us and for one of their facilities. And, Justin mentioned the Decarbonization Leadership Program is one of our big initiatives under the expanded authority. So we continue to work with them at the Empire State Plaza and Harriman campus as we set up the decarbonization framework and playbook for all other agencies to follow. So just a little highlight of OGS. Next topic. From our economic development side, right, we have a statewide team that focuses on boots on the ground identification of new businesses to locate into New York State or the expansion of existing businesses, and how can we partner together with other entities such as ESD, NYSERDA, but other IDAs, industrial development agencies. And so we're very proud that our program was recognized at this year's New York State Economic Development Conference for Project of the Year, Economic Development Project of the Year for Fairlife. So this is a business that is expected to launch a flagship facility in the Northeast for one of its very popular core high protein shake products. And so my team is already taking bets on who can get into better shape, by consuming this product. But you'll see here some quick stats, right? It was awarded a Recharge New York award earlier this year for close to 9 megawatts. But in addition to, NYPA, the reason why this project was recognized, because there were about 6 to 7 entities across that region that went out of their way to ensure that this project, the interconnection, the utilities, the land itself, the permitting, would ensure that this business would be able to bring the jobs to New York that it said it would. And being one of the largest in the Northeast, that's a pretty big deal. So NYPA was very proud of the partnership. And so congratulations to the economic development team there. One more recognition from Forrester, next slide, please, is the opportunity to highlight some back office work. We don't always get to see the work that happens behind the scenes, but we're very proud that our product development management process was recognized by Forrester and received Program of the Year. I'll give you a couple of stats of what goes into that. It was awarded the product management category for recognizing how NYPA has institutionalized the discipline of product management. Now, taking a step back of why we developed this program to begin with, we've been conducting energy efficiency services for more than 30 years. But with the passing of CLCPA and other local laws like Local Law 97, we wanted to ensure that our resources were dedicated to helping our customers and helping our customers advance their goals. And so what we do is we directly tie the impact, whether it's greenhouse gas emissions, whether it's payback or otherwise, to ensure that it is the best spending of our resources. That means people, that means capital. And so these projects take a long time, not only to be identified, but also to design and to implement. So we really want the highest value out of our resources. And that's really the benefit of having this product development process. But Forrester cited accomplishments such as formal governance, policy procedures, committee charter, roles, responsibilities, outside of a dedicated team, and having the first ever commercial readiness planning and a formal go-to-market strategy. So what does that mean? Partners such as in external affairs or in EJ, everyone has the same playbook to be able to relay to our customers or the community what exactly it is that NYPA is looking to support with and helping to achieve. So I know that the product management team works very closely with the product owners and SMEs, so just want to congratulate that team as well. And for the last slide, please. I want to highlight something that I know is very important to our executive office. Upon the passing of the IRA and the IIJA, customers were coming to us asking, what was NYPA's opinion about these opportunities and all these grants? And Justin reacted very quickly and stood up an internal task force to support our customers. And so very proud that, including both front and back end support, our group has been able to support customers in identifying matching grant opportunities. We have been supporting customers with grant writing to reduce the administrative burden on their behalf and strengthen the application in a highly competitive environment. NYPA has written letters of support to really help increase the credibility of customers' projects. And our business development team in particular was a bit innovative, and they created a compliance playbook, which we know is one of the most critical parts of receiving a DOE grant, right? If you're not compliant with the requirements, there's a possibility that that money can be taken away from you. So the team is really proud to have developed this compliance playbook. One of the awards, one of the leaders really in terms of a customer that was really aggressive in identifying these grants was the Jamestown BPU. They received $17.3 million for a community microgrid project. So today we have even more, right? This was just a year ago, but today we have even more focused, proactive steering committee that's coming out of the innovation office that's taking all of the grant writing across the entire organization, whether it's for customers or for our own assets. And we're ensuring that we are being the most efficient and focused with our search for programs in which we can identify these grants in. So I know I just covered a very distinct.
We'll just clarify. So
yes.
Maribel, we're supporting efforts that otherwise would have occurred, or these are requests and submissions that probably wouldn't have occurred without our support and help?
Well, what I would like to say is I have witnessed that there have been customers that would not have been able to apply for some of these grants, because we do have customers that have very lean teams that are focused on keeping the lights on and don't have the time to fill out the applications. Yeah. Yeah. So more to come on that for sure. So as I mentioned, very distinct areas, and it all happens because of the close collaboration. Very proud of the teams, but also very proud of the work across the organization at large. So thank you all for your support. And any questions, happy to answer.
Maribel, I just want to thank you and your teams across the board for particularly the customer work, right? The solutioning, being best in class, because part of what NYPA can do is be the thought leader, not just New York State, but in the Northeast. But I love the partnership with these customer grants and like NYPA adding letters of support to a number of these projects. It's really value added. So just a thank you.
I really appreciate that comment, and that I have witnessed how it almost comes naturally because of the long-term relationships that our teams have with the customers. You almost become an extension of their staff because of the relationship has been so long. So that letter of support was almost like a homegrown idea as well. So thank you for your comment. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maribel. Appreciate that. Okay. Adam, finance. The results continue to be directionally, positive. So well done.
Thank you. And good morning, trustees, NYPA colleagues, members of the public. So we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the major drivers of the performance through the first 6 months, because we're at the halfway point. And as we sit here today, last time we gave you an updated finance committee meeting, we were through May. So this includes June, which was as you heard from Maribel, a very strong month for us because of the heat wave and our units being called on, more prices were higher. So we had an exceptional month in June. And it puts us at $61 million of net income against a target of 30. The second half of the year is usually a stronger half of the year for us. So we see that trend continuing and project to have a stronger finish. I'll get into later slides the breakdowns of what drove the generation margins, transmission margins, and other variances. We'll go now to the end of the year projection. So the end of the year projection continues that trend. We're targeting $162 million against the original budget of $120 million, giving us a $40 million positive variance. A lot of that is the continuation of the positive generation, increased generation at our hydro plants, and prices rebounding towards the second half of the year. The first half of the year, the prices were lower, and it's very strong transmission revenues, a combination of things we spoke about before, the FERC filing of how we allocate our costs and how we calculate our transmission rate of return. All of that was approved by FERC, gives us a very positive outcome of that. And we also do an annual true up where we look back and true up our rates according to what the actual expenses were during that period, which will also have a very positive impact here. And as we think about where we were last year around this time and to where we are today, now last year we were talking about a recession. Was it going to be a soft landing, a hard landing? We've seen that this is no landing because we haven't seen a recession. So we've positive economic news on that front. There was also an expectation that there would be 4 or 5 rate cuts during the year. We haven't seen one yet. Right now, the market's pricing maybe a 50% chance of one in September, which is right around the time we're going to be looking to go to the market for our bond issue. So hopefully there's some good news there and some wind at our back when we go into the market in September. Other economic factors, obviously inflation was supposed to come down quicker than it has. It's been somewhat sticky, especially with respect to things like housing costs and other costs. Energy in general has not come down as quickly as they thought. We're starting to see some of that now, 2 months of positive inflation data. So the Fed is very data-driven and dependent. So if the data continues, there might be a reason for a rate cut in September. That's probably the last chance before the election. And some even think it's too close to the election. That's the debate that's going on right now. So we'll have to take and wait and see. But as I said, things obviously changed significantly from where we thought we would be now compared to last year, and how we prepare for that, knowing that energy prices are very volatile. Certainly natural gas prices, where we anticipated those to be above $3. Now it's been between $2 and $3 for natural gas, and our prices follow the natural gas price. The way we prepare for that is really through our hedging activities to make sure that if prices go down, we're protected. And then, other things that we've obviously done throughout the authority that we've talked about in terms of things with risk management. We hedge metals for aluminum and other commodities, as well as our captive insurance program that we've been putting in place, also preparing us for unexpected events, as well as our financial planning. Next slide, please. So the major drivers of the margin, especially on the generation side, as you can see, the hydro volume contributed $29 million. The hedge settlements, $20 million, right? That's really helping to offset the decrease in the price impact, which is $32 million. Fuel and other costs were very favorable because the lower gas prices were lower fuel costs for us, as well as we had some positive transactions at the Flint plant, which was down, and we were able to sell fuel back into the market much more favorably than it was costing us. So we were able to actually benefit a little bit from that. So all told, that makes up the major components of the $22 million variance positive for generation. Next slide, please. Again, just looking at prices, you see in the beginning of the year on the top really shows the prices. At the bottom of the chart are the capacity prices. So we have the energy at top, capacity on the bottom. You can see where the energy price started out the year. The actual is much lower than what we had forecasted in our plan due to overall conditions in the market, as well as the milder winter than was expected, much lower heating degree days than was originally planned. However, we do see that rebounding towards the end of the year. Our prices today are back to where we think they should be, and we're starting to track towards the original budget. Capacity prices have been lower as well. Some of that is driven by a model that comes out of the NYSO, where they do the locational capacity requirements, and that is a model driven that does inform capacity prices. They had announced about a month ago or so an error in their model, which changed the demand curve lower, which has resulted in lower capacity prices as a result. So that was made public, and the market has adjusted to that new information. But overall, we see the prices of and the forecast between now and the end of the year to hold very steady towards our plan. Next slide. On the transmission side, as I mentioned, part of the variance was the FERC filing, as I just discussed, as well as that annual true-up. On the negative side, we'll see here that the HTP line did not do as well as forecasted. We forecast a significant loss on that every year, and this year it's more of a loss than was originally planned. On the non-operating side, because of the lack of rate cuts, we've actually benefited from that, as we've talked about before, from higher interest earnings on our investments, and no material interest expense as a result, given that we were locked into mostly fixed interest payments at this point. So the lack of rate cuts actually helped us through the first half of the year, and we'll see where we do from now to the end of the year. Next slide, please. This is sort of which areas actually contributed from a profit center standpoint. We can call this the good, bad, and the ugly. On the good side, we have our hydro plants, which performed notably better, and they make up a significant portion of our overall margins, overwhelmingly, but they continue to be positive, even to the plan. The Flint plant, as I mentioned before, because of the outage, has underperformed. The small clean power plants, the peakers, also performed lower than plan BG, slightly better, and the small hydros also worse than planned. We plan on losing roughly $3.7 million, and it has lost so far $4.4 million to date. And on the transmission side, as we discussed, a positive variance, and on HTP, you can see that through half of the year, we lost $40 million versus a plan of 35. Next slide.
Adam, just before you leave this slide, so the peakers, just so I understand in my mind, they really are emergency power opportunities based, in the local communities, right? So they only come online if the whole system is stressed. Is that a fair way to think about it?
I would say that more so in those situations, but on a normal basis, there's constantly, we're bidding into the market on the day ahead, and we're getting called, quite frequently. But yes, more frequently when there are hot days like we had in the summer, or extremely cold days in the winter, and that's, hence the term peaker, right? So it's meeting those peak demands when needed, but we do see them being used, on a regular basis. But because of that fluctuation, we don't, do a lot of hedging there, because of the uncertainties of how often they will be called and to what extent. So they're a little bit more subject to the volatilities of the energy pricing versus the hydros, where we do more significant hedging on the hydros.
That's helpful.
We can play both offense as well as defense.
A little bit of defense as well.
Okay, to me, that's the
layman's takeaway.
Version. Yeah, you're right. What you described as playing defense, but there's opportunities to play offense with it as well.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Next slide. And again, looking through towards the end of the year, looking at opportunities and threats. On the positive side, as I mentioned before, we're going through the annual true-up process now. We do expect that to lead to some more positive numbers as we roll through the rest of the year. And on the pension and OPEB benefits, or the other post-employment benefits, healthcare for retirees, there we will see potentially a positive variance. Those are very much subject to the stock market performance. So whether it be the state pension plan, which is managed by the state comptroller, or our retiree health plan, which is managed by us. We have our own OPEB trust plan that we manage those assets, about $800 million in that fund that we manage. Both of those are invested, significantly in the stock market and the fixed income market, and the positive performance over the last year should result in lower expenses as a result of that. The potential for the interest rate cuts between now and the year could provide a positive mark to market on our fixed income portfolio on the NYPA side. So we could see that erase the negative mark to market we're currently carrying. And on the threat side, always making sure we have money available for any emergent expenses that could come up that are unplanned. So we maintain somewhat of a reserve for anything that we don't anticipate today, but could happen. So to make sure that we're covered there. And as we discussed a little bit at the Finance Committee meeting, there's a new GASB accounting pronouncement about how we value our uncompensated absences and sick leave time. That new accounting pronouncement should result in an increase in expense this year of somewhere between $15 and $20 million. And on as we mentioned before, on preparedness and risk mitigation side, our hedging portfolio between now and the end of the year, very little downside risk. So prices could, go down further, very little impact to our bottom line. And we're already about 50% hedged for 2025. And we'll firm that up as we get closer and closer to the financial plan coming this fall. Any questions?
Adam, I was just going to ask about the hedging programs. You're in your modeling, you're looking out 6 months to a year. Is that, or is it even longer term hedging?
It's longer term. We're looking out 3 years.
Okay.
So we do it on a 3-year cycle. By the time, what we really want to do is get to anywhere from 50 to 60% hedged in the fall, right before we lock in our numbers for the next year, so that our downside risk at that point is manageable, somewhere in the $50 million range, no more than that. And then that'll tighten up as we go forward. But we're also rolling ahead hedges for the next year out and the next year after that in lower volumes, but making sure it's almost like think about dollar cost averaging, right? How you continue to put the hedges on, whether the prices are going up or down, to make sure you're at least locking it in and have some certainty. Because that's what our financial plan is all about, really having a lot of certainty to it, so we can plan and we can make sure that we have the money available to invest in our capital program and the other programs that we do. So we try to avoid the volatility as much as we can, even if it means giving up some of the upside, because having the certainty is more important.
Well, based on the numbers, your hedging programs have been super successful over the last year or two. I mean, since we've been new board members, it's been a positive plus for NYPA.
Yes, absolutely. And to that, Maribel and her team in ERM have done a terrific job working with both the risk team under Alexis and our finance team. We work very well together and talk about the issues around the facilities, the markets, and it's not done in a vacuum. It's done very collaboratively, and that's the result of a real good team process.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah, we've done some look back analysis in the past, and we'll continue to do that. As Adam said, frankly, sometimes we leave money on the table, as a result of it. But the certainty and predictability is far more important to us, whether it be operationally, rating agencies, et cetera. I mean, so. Yeah, it's worked really well.
Yeah, and that's actually a very good point. I mean, that is something the rating agencies do cite, that 30% of our gross margin is in the merchant area, so that is subject to the price fluctuation. So they see that as a major risk factor. So the more we can show them that we've got this locked down, the better they feel about how they look at our numbers.
Which obviously helps us as we continue to tap the markets and go to market, and going forward, want to build that, track record and predictability, dependability.
Yeah. Well, just to Lori's earlier point, as reasonably new board members, we've been here a year now, the thoughtfulness around your financial planning and your hedging and, running the business on a current basis is incredibly positive. So just wanted to make a note of that.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. And that goes to really the team and the collaboration. That's part of that. So I'll certainly send that message back. Thank you.
I mean, reading this, Adam, and listening to you, it seems that your forecast is rather conservative based on what, in fact, our first 6 months produced and all the rest of that. So your degree of confidence in us hitting these numbers, I assume, is relatively high at this point.
It's very high because, as I mentioned, we don't see a lot of events that could be significant enough to really cause us to miss the target, but certainly not even miss where we're resetting the target as of today, particularly in terms of the energy prices. And as I mentioned before, you see up top, I mean, we do have money set aside for what we don't know, right? So that within, the planning, to make sure that there's always something that's going to happen that you don't expect, but we make sure that we've got that covered as well. Because again, we want to be able to maintain the plan, the target, and be able to do all the other things that we need to do in terms of all of this, right? Generates cash flow that supports and goes into the investments in the capital program. And that's what drives the capital program. And the capital program is really what's driving a lot of our strategy when it comes to building out the transmission, building out the renewables. All of that requires, a lot of capital not only in terms of our, cash investment from an equity standpoint, but our ability to finance all those projects and to maintain that financial, capital capacity for a very large capital program that we have, which is over $3 billion for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just bodes very well for our ability to continue to scale and lean into the opportunities in terms of the strength of the financial operation. So yeah, kudos to all. Any other questions for Adam? Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well done as always. Thank you very much, Alexis.
Yes. Do I get to take my introduction from the table also? Is that okay?
Oh, sure. Whatever.
Awesome. I'm following in Joe's good stead. So helping contribute to today's fun and exciting session, in lieu of our typical risk report, today what we wanted to do was provide you an overview of our about to be published integrated report. So integrated reporting is an opportunity that we take to provide our stakeholders a broader explanation of our performance than what we typically see in traditional disclosures, like our financial disclosures. And I particularly love it because it aligns with a guiding principle that I often revert to in our discussions, which is around connecting information for people in a way that is simple and clear. And so I'm hoping that resonates with Trustee Wheelock as well from a transparency perspective. So today I have my team member, Kerry-Jane King. She's our Senior Director of Sustainability, and she's going to give us an overview of the how, why, and what of our 2023 integrated report. Kerry-Jane.
Okay, Kerry-Jane, the podium is yours.
Well, thanks everyone. So I'm Kerry-Jane King, as Alexis said, Senior Director of Sustainability, and I'm going to talk about our integrated report, which we have just completed and are about to issue. Do I move these slides? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so the report combines our annual report, and some of you are familiar with this report. It's our second year. So it's our second year issuing this report. Some of you may be new to integrated reporting. So the report combines our annual report and sustainability report in one and brings together financial and sustainability information to provide a more complete account of our performance. We applied the integrated reporting framework and aligned with leading sustainability reporting standards to ensure we provided stakeholders with information that's most relevant and most important to them, and also that the data we included was consistent and comparable. Next slide, please. We went through an extensive stakeholder engagement process to prepare the report. We started by strengthening governance and establishing a steering committee for integrated reporting, as well as integrated reporting procedure. We also interviewed and held a workshop with key stakeholders to identify main themes and stories. We reached out to over 80 SMEs to develop content for the report. And we took several steps to ensure data accuracy. So we, the internal business controls team conducted a test of effectiveness for a representative sample of data controls. We also established a data attestation process, and we actually got or obtained limited assurance for our greenhouse gas emissions from KPMG. The Controller's Office reviewed the report to ensure consistency with our financial statements. And the Law Department also reviewed the report. And of course, it was reviewed and approved by the EMC. Next slide, please. So this is the value creation model. And Alexis said this was a simple, this reporting framework. So I'm hoping you bear with me and see the simplicity, fundamental simplicity, not so apparent. So this integrated reporting aims to provide a framework for an organization to describe how it creates value, not only for the organization itself, but also for its stakeholders and for the broader society. And central to the framework is a broader concept of value. And this is the model sits at the heart of the report. And within the broad concept of value is really captured by basically spans 6 categories of resources. If you see that are over here, the inputs and also the outcomes. So you can see they include a manufactured, intellectual, natural, social and relationship, human and financial, or the other way around, starting with financial. And so the idea is that these resources serve as essential inputs to the business, and business activities are the essential activities that transform these resources. Key outputs are the services and products that the organization produces, as well as waste, so positive and negative, and outcomes also positive and negative, are the way the resources are transformed, across the 6 categories. And positively and negatively. So the idea is to increase transparency, to increase provide the full story of the performance of the organization and the value it creates. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So this is how we applied our framework, and I'm laughing because it's not so simple, but it actually is pretty simple. So over here, the idea is that you could trace from capital inputs to outcomes, all the stories that we tell in the report, so you can bring them all together across economic, social, and environmental factors, and by doing so, we can provide tie investments to impacts and provide a more complete account of our whole performance. Next slide, please. So the key themes that we identified for the report are align with our 5 strategic priorities, and describe how we're preserving hydropower, and the progress we made with Next Generation Niagara to drive economic development with our hydropower programs, our commitment to decarbonizing our fossil assets and our efforts to decarbonize other assets such as buildings and vehicle fleet, the progress we've made to increase the resilience of the grid. So huge accomplishments for last year, and accelerate the integration of renewables through completion of Smart Path, Y49 reconductoring, and Central East Energy Connect, and our energy services programs, the projects such as the heat pump program with the New York City Housing Authority, and the infrastructure project with the MTA bus fleet, that support the customer decarbonization goals. And we also talked, of course, about the important work we are doing with canals to revitalize the canal system and strengthen infrastructure, and to increase access and recreational opportunities for communities and visitors. Lastly, we throughout it all, we tried to describe how we're integrating sustainability, how we're protecting ecosystems and biodiversity, increasing workforce diversity, and inclusion, and promoting professional development, engaging with communities and providing STEM education and other resources, and supporting local and diverse suppliers. So pretty much an overview of all the things that I'm sure you're very familiar with. Next slide, please. An important area of focus for NYPA and for our stakeholders are greenhouse gas emissions. As I'm sure you know, greenhouse gas emissions are divided into 3 scopes. Scope 1 is direct, Scope 2 indirect, and Scope 3 upstream and downstream emissions. And we continue to expand our greenhouse gas inventory to increase transparency and also better understand the impact of our emissions across our value chain. And so in 2023, we added the canal's vehicle fleet and marine vessels. We also added upstream emissions from purchased electricity. And you can see in the pie chart that our direct emissions, primarily from our fossil assets, make up about 21% of our current inventory. 78% is made up of Scope 3 upstream emissions from production and transport of fuel, and also power purchase for resale, and only 1% is from purchased electricity for consumption and transmission line losses. I did want to mention that we had a very, very slight increase in Scope 1 emissions from our fossil assets last year, 1.5%. And this, of course, is due to an ISO dispatch. The emissions vary slightly each year due to factors such as weather patterns and availability of generating resources. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to wrap up by, again, emphasizing that I think this is a good framework for NYPA to report, because it provides a broad concept of value that helps to describe all our impacts as a public benefit corporation, and also because it ties together environmental, social, and economic factors to drive a more integrated approach to performance management and better understand risks, opportunities, and trade-offs. And that is my summary. Thank you.
Yeah, on that last point, the report's incredibly well done. Kudos to everyone. That said, I'm never convinced the external constituents that the real benefit is there, and it's more your last point is, as we focus internally, do we identify any gaps or holes or what's missing, parts and pieces? And is there anything that's come out of the process that has been a bit of an eye-opener, for us, or anything where we've identified, gaps that we've somehow overlooked or have a different perspective on as a result of the reporting process? I mean, it's because otherwise it's an exercise that we're more complying than to me, it's more compliance than additive externally. But internally, can we make it really additive to ensure, we're holding our collective feet to the fire and taking an objective look, as opposed to just trying to earn an A, with our external report?
Yeah. So I could take that from two angles. First one is that technically we're not required to produce an integrated report. So it actually isn't just about compliance for NYPA. It is an opportunity we take to voluntarily take that extra step. Globally, yes, European Union countries, they are required to report, but there's such investor and stakeholder interest in being able to see this information. We do that as well. But part B, or maybe it was part A of your question, was around what are our learnings internally? And it is exactly true that the extensive process that Kerry-Jane just described, but especially this year, juxtaposed along with the Vision 2030 refresh work that has been happening, brings a lot of context to bear as we do think about performance to date for NYPA and canals and our future ambitions and endeavors. So to me, it is around bringing together those different SMEs, looking at common problems, but from the different angles. It does help us to more holistically understand issues and plan, right? It brings together conversations from deep-seated SME areas like sustainability team members with operations to understand where is the value, right? Where is there potential opportunity, not just cost, to look at how we integrate our social and environmental planning and thinking along with delivering on the meat and potatoes of our vision and mission. So there is precisely the integrated reporting framework. It's more of a integrated thinking process that we are picking up on, Chairman.
Yeah, because I'd be really interested in external stakeholder feedback.
Yeah. So
do we
so
really get it?
Yeah,
is
so,
it meaningful?
Yeah.
What's the benefit for us?
Right. So what I would say is there is both from the rating agencies who love looking at this stuff. The SEC came out with a rule for publicly traded companies to increase their disclosures. This is coming right in our area as well. And investors want to know. So we talk about the green bond framework and how we try to use that to help market and sell our bonds. And what we do find is the investors who really care about that aspect want more than the label. They want to go into this kind of depth and say, and to me, it's a little bit about, it does speak a little bit to quality of management, because what the takeaway is from people is that you're looking at these long-term impacts to your organization, or even the ones that, on society, and what you're doing and how you're thinking about it. And it shows some thoughtfulness in terms of how we go about our strategy and how we tell our story. And it, from external, it has implications for people who want to come to work here, about what our values are and how we go about doing it, our customers, our suppliers. So it helps us tell a more complete story than just numbers from the financials. So it is taking it a step further and trying to say, how does the financials, result? What is the result of all the activities we're doing? So I think from that standpoint, it tells a good story.
Yeah, and concept, I wholeheartely agree. I'm just curious as
we're getting good
what's
feedback.
The practical, what's the real feedback?
And the other thing is, I would say, is that we use this as our initiative when we were requested by the governor's office to say, how are you going to become more transparent? She did a whole transparency initiative and said, tell us. And our answer was the integrated report.
Right.
And there's been a lot of move to put data into other formats that might not necessarily tell our story as best as we can. And we'd rather be the authors of our story than let somebody else do that for us. So from that standpoint, and we're first mover, first leader in this. We're the first public authority to have done this. We're the first, I think, public utility that's done it. Other utilities are doing it already, but from the public side, we're the first.
It also highlights. I think this is outstanding. So I just have to say, because from as Adam said, the European investors already want fulsome reporting. They're 5 years, maybe a decade. No, not a decade, but they're 5 years ahead of U.S. investors in terms of the data and how all this knits together from a sustainability perspective. So it's coming. And I liked your commentary, Adam, about it. It demonstrates the depth, the excellence, and the strategic thinking of senior executives and putting this together. So to me, it's building capacity, because we're going to have to get there at some point. But being the first mover to develop this is, I just think, marvelous for NYPA and its leadership. And
this is the second year, correct? So that's fantastic. So I'm sure we're learning from that, like doing the look back and the forward. And so it just has a lot of different vehicles and tracks we can kind of play with.
Yeah.
Just the skeptic in me says the internal benefits need to be very real, because I'm not sure the external impacts are worthy of the time, effort, and energy. It's an outstanding report, incredibly well done, and one we're all very proud of, no question. Speaks volumes, and it's just time will tell. But kudos.
So we're driving the public to the website, right, to read this report. How are we getting this out to the external audiences?
There you go. This will be published digitally and digitally only, in line with our sustainability goals. It will not be printing, and it will be imminent. I think the next week or so, it should be available online. And full disclosure, I will say that before I joined NYPA, one of the first things I looked to see was, where is the reporting, like beyond the financials? So happy. I think Karina gave me an advance copy before it was published. So I think you might find that there are people who do look for it. If it's available on the website, they might, flick through it I'm sure not read it cover to cover, but look for areas of interest.
It'd be good to capture that somehow, in terms of our ability to incrementally attract talent. Who would invest in us, that we consider to be, AAA investors, if you will, that otherwise wouldn't have come. Things like it would be good to monitor, somehow track a little bit of that, and or what are our internal learnings as we've gone through the process that we might have otherwise missed or not prioritized as a result of the discipline, that comes from, the exercise. So,
and then our other financial disclosures and official statements, we have a hyperlink, right? So that as they're going through, we talk about it generally and say, hey, if you want to dig deeper, just click here and you could get as much of the information as you want.
That's wonderful.
All right. Kerry-Jane, again, thanks very much. Alexis, thank you. Very well done. I said, speaks volumes and carries our flag very well. So well done. All right. A little bit of a pivot here and an opportunity to catch up mid-year and hear from Brian in terms of canals and what's happening, in particular as we look ahead to next year's conference and the like. So, Brian, your 15 minutes of fame is now upon you.
Thank you, Chairman, Trustees, NYPA, and Canal colleagues, members of the EMC, and members of the public. It's my pleasure to be back with you again today and to provide an update on Governor Hochul's recent launch of the Erie Canal Bicentennial Commission and to highlight some of the activities that are ahead under that banner. Next slide, please. The governor initially announced the state's plans to form an Erie Canal Bicentennial Commission in January as part of her 2024 State of the State address. Earlier this month, on July 12th, the governor officially announced the start of the work of the commission, naming First Gentleman Bill Hochul and myself to serve as co-chairs. And the First Gentleman and I will be joined by Secretary of State Walter Mosley, Empire State Development President Hope Knight, and Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Commissioner Pro Tem Randy Simons, serving out as Bicentennial Commissioners. Our first scheduled meeting will take place in Albany on Friday, August 13th. Next slide, please. As will be shared at that time with our commissioners, we have a robust calendar of events and activities planned under development. Those will continue through 2024 and into 2025, culminating as we celebrate the bicentennial of the opening of the canal in 2025. This includes the 2025 World Canals Conference, which will take place in Buffalo, September 21st through 25th, an Erie Canal documentary series that is being produced currently by WMHT Television, the PBS affiliate in Albany, a special concert series along the canal featuring emerging composers, and our continuing Erie Canal Bicentennial Forum series, which began in April and will continue in October in partnership with SUNY and the Department of State, and a comprehensive update to our Canal Recreation Way plan. Next slide, please. Chairman and trustees and EMC members, as Rebecca Hughes has shared with you earlier this month, we were excited to have worked with the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor and the BBC for a major earned media article on the Erie Canal, which was released earlier this month, circulating among its 450 million readers weekly. The slide says 350, but we fact checked that. It's actually 450 million, and an excellent way to get our bicentennial message out to the public. Next slide, please. Our Bicentennial Commission planning will conclude with the 2025 World Canals Conference scheduled September 21st through 25th As you may know, Rebecca and I were part of a New York delegation recently returned from the 2024 World Canals Conference in Bydgoszcz, Poland. There, Rebecca and Eastern Division Canal engineer Joe Maloney presented technical papers on canal operations, and I was proud to share at that point a very special message from Governor Hochul to invite the world to come to Buffalo next year. Next slide, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry, Carly.
Video. Oh, we have a quick video. Extra surprises.
It's rising for canals around the world. The spirit of innovation that transformed our nation is revitalizing our waterways for tomorrow. Transforming, re-envisioning, reinventing, honoring our legacy, and taking everyone along for the ride. Just as we share challenges, so too must we share solutions. We invite you to the Cutting Edge, a global gathering of inland waterways innovators, bringing their passion, their inspiration, their best ideas, as we strive to sustain our multidimensional canals for our communities, for our guests, for our environments, for generations to come. The Erie Canal is your backdrop, and the host city of Buffalo, New York, USA, a destination packed with beauty, history, and wonder. Join us in commemorating an extraordinary 200 years by preparing for the next 200. World Canals Conference 2025, where the future flows.
That was also shown in Poland, probably translated in Polish also, and we expect a healthy international delegation here next year, Chairman.
How healthy? I mean, how many people attended in Poland? Is this?
They had over 300 people from 15 countries. We're hoping to have more than 500 here. The deputy mayor of the Polish host city is going to be coming along with some of their colleagues, even though they officially passed the torch to us. And China will be the host in 2026, and they are very anxious, and we expect a very healthy delegation from China to come to Buffalo as we pass the torch to them as we wrap up. So the work goes on. Great opportunity for us to showcase what we're doing here.
And how's life on the canals this summer? Are we seeing increased activity, and what's happening? Give us a quick little recap.
Life on the canals is always good. We are on target. Just about 78,000 lockages annually. We will finish out the year. I am also happy to report that the governor and the first gentleman have been traveling the canal. They relocated their boat all the way from Buffalo to Albany. So they were 3 or 4 days on the canal, and 2 weekends ago they navigated along the Champlain Canal and along Lake Champlain. So I'm confident Governor Hochul is the first governor since DeWitt Clinton to put as many miles on the canal.
That's amazing.
Very good.
Any observations? You said you haven't been in the water.
I haven't been
much
on the
yourself.
water. We're hoping to go to Oswego this weekend. But if anybody's interested, there are still reservations open for kayak history tours of the canal out of Macedon in September and October. It's only 2 hours, and it's a great way to spend it.
Brian, can you talk a little bit about accessibility for all? Because I think it's really phenomenal what you all are doing.
We had a great forum. We began our SUNY Erie Canal Bicentennial Forum series in April at Monroe Community College and talked about accessible recreation along the canal. It's a huge market and it's in high demand, and it's really providing the opportunity for everyone to be able to get into the canal. We have accessible kayak launches in many locations along the canal. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow we will be in Fairport. Justin and I will be in Fairport to announce a new partnership that we have with Rochester Accessible Adventures to bring more people to the canal and to train providers so that we can get more people into this growing market. So we're excited about that.
And operationally, Joe, we continue to strengthen the system, and all goes well there.
Yeah, operationally, we're in good shape. Continue to do the improvements and execute the capital program. No major emergent issues this year, so we've been fortunate with some of the weather. It's some, weather to contend with, but no major infrastructure issues this year.
Chairman, I can wrap up and let you know that we recently helped the Wilson Foundation and the EU Conservancy transport the bridge that was manufactured in Italy over the ocean, up the Hudson River and through the Erie Canal. So the bridge is in place at the Ralph Wilson Park, and it'll be prepped for installation in October.
Correct. Yeah, that was wonderful. You guys did a fantastic job, and Conservancy and the Wilson Foundation are thrilled and incredibly pleased and appreciative of the great work you and Rebecca and Dave and the entire team did to make it happen. So it's not a lot of commercial traffic that makes its way down the canal anymore. So I know there were numerous logistical challenges, but you guys definitely delivered in a very significant and impactful way. So.
Well, it was so large, the only option they had would have been to go through the St. Lawrence Seaway and around, which is a huge detour. But we were happy to make it happen. It was
great. So last night we choreographed it. So it arrived on 7/16 day in Buffalo, which is a big deal. So all the rest of that, so great. Well, we'll have to, some are asking already, we'll have to, as we look ahead to board calendar next year, it seems like we're going to have a offsite in Buffalo in September.
It's a lovely time of year there.
Yeah,
I agree. We'll get ready, right, Karen?
We'll have a Bills game. I mean, there'll be all kinds of good stuff, right, Joe? We can have the whole week, like plenty to do. Canals week, NYPA week. Yeah, maybe the Jets. The Bills will play the Jets or the Giants. We can maybe influence, reach out. We'll get something going here.
Might be a little hockey as well.
We're hopeful to have a tour of Bills Stadium too.
Maybe a pre.
That's part of the
conference.
So, all right, Brian, thanks so much. Great job.
Brian.
Yeah, Brian. Very exciting. Look forward to it. Lori.
Yep. That's a tough act to follow.
Justin referenced the.
He did, yeah. Good morning, and I think next time I'm going to come here, I think I need a video because that was a hard act to follow. So I am presenting an item on workforce development.
One thing I did notice, excuse me, in the video is they fast forward all of the action on the canal.
Yes.
How fast the water comes up. Otherwise, it'd be like, okay, watching that boat rise or whatever. So we really got, I know, that baby filling up fast or whatever.
I think they fast forwarded the kayakers. They were very fast.
They were very fast. So
they're very energetic.
I don't know if that's a requirement to kayak on the canal or what.
Total opposite.
It's fun.
Oh, okay.
Just watch out for the boats.
Not a slow roll there on the canal, but all right, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I have good news too. Not as exciting as Brian's video, but good news. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, Chair, trustees, and NYPA employees. So as Justin mentioned in his opening remarks, I'm here to present an item on workforce development. And as Justin mentioned, as part of our expanded authority, the Power Authority did commit to spending up to $25 million annually for workforce development in the renewable energy space. And to that end, we negotiated an agreement with the Department of Labor, a collaboration agreement and a partnership to try and develop jobs in the renewable energy space. And I presented an item before the board back in May, and those were items that the Power Authority was moving on independently and the Department of Labor was moving on independently. So I'm very excited to say that this is our first joint request for funding. And it's a request for $500,000. It's a grant to be given to the Renaissance Technical Institute. So the Renaissance Technical Institute is a non-for-profit organization. It's located in Harlem. Its founder is David Geraldo, and he is the founder as well as the executive director. And the RTI, as he calls it, has been around for 10 years, and they have a proud history of graduating 8,000 successful participants through this organization. So RTI is unique in New York City because one is it's a totally free vocational training school. And two is you do not need to have a high school education or a high school degree in order to participate in the paid internships. So their focus is really on at-risk youth. And those are young adults who are not anticipated to graduate high school. So they've taken the barrier of a high school degree away to have these people come in, and RTI has numerous offerings and paid internships and opportunities. This specifically is for the buildings and trades and construction industry. It's carpentry, electricians, plumbers, HVAC techs, as well as solar panel installations. So the request here is to have a grant of $500,000 for the Renaissance Technical Institute, and it's to pay the teachers for this paid internship opportunity and also to buy material so that the paid internship actually gives the students some real hands-on skills and experience and scenarios. So the paid internship is 6 months in duration. The first 3 months is education. The last 3 months is vocational training. And assuming that the students successfully complete the 6-month paid internship, they will have a job opportunity waiting for them at the end of the program, which is everybody's hope and success, right? Is that we're creating jobs in the clean energy field, and these people have a sustainable path forward. So we are excited to have the first joint request. We are very impressed with RTI. They have a great history. DOL is impressed with them. We just want to be part of that success. So that's why I'm requesting the $500,000 grant for the board to approve so that they can continue to pay teachers and buy hands-on materials for the students. And they actually expected to allow them to offer this paid internship for anywhere from like 100 to 120 students. So we view it as a win-win, honestly, with RTI, and we're hoping that this grant will just be the beginning of our relationship with them, and we'll have continuing grant funding opportunities for RTI. And with that, I'd ask for an approval, and if there's any questions.
Is the Department of Labor contributing as well, Lori?
It's a joint request, so it's from both of us. Yes, but they're big advocates of
That's
RTI.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. You know, no high school degree, free vocational. They also offer wraparound services. So it's a great institution, and we want to be a fan and we want to support it.
Yeah. The RTI story is told very well on their website. So if you give it a peek, you'll get to understand the wraparound, the barrier removal, all the things that prevent people from being successful in these programs.
And they have paid internships in other fields, but they understand and they agree to have this be specifically in the renewable energy field, so it fits within the workforce development funding. And they're very appreciative of the funding. They get funding from New York City, but they always need additional funding so they can expand and continue their services.
So Lori, once we take this vote, when do we believe this program will start?
We believe the program is going to start. He wants it to start in September.
Amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So he's ready to go. He just needs the funds to pay the teachers and to buy some materials.
All right, unless there's any other questions, I ask for a motion to approve the grant request.
So moved.
Thank you, B. Second, Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks very much, Laura. Very exciting, and I'm proud to do so. Okay, couple committee reports. First up, finance. We all participated 10 days, 2 weeks ago, and a good finance committee meeting. Out of that, there's a handful of recommendations. that were moved to come forward to us as a full board today. First is Adam's reference going to market soon, raise additional funding, and it's recommended that we approve an updated green bond framework in connection with that. Number two, a 5-year, $500 million, personal services contract connection with lighting installation, a handful of entities, Brightcore Energy, Labella Associates, Pearl Street Systems, Tri-State Lighting, and Wendell Energy Services. Again, 5-year, $500 million expenditure. Also a request to award an equipment contract to Channing Street Copper Company for the induction stove challenge in the amount of $32 million over the next 7 years. Fourth, approved capital expenditures up to $40.5 million for the Messina Canal Dam project, and a contract to Luck Brothers located in Plattsburgh for the amount of $53 million to further implement that project. And lastly, recommendation for expenditure of up to $20 million over the next 5 years in support of our EPRI membership. So unless anyone has any questions regarding any of that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the recommendation. Thank you, Dennis. Second. Lori, thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. And then Cecily chaired Risk and Resilience Committee report after finance that day. Cecily, report out, please.
So we had our first official Risk and Resilience Committee meeting. Alexis appeared in Messina at the Power Authority building in our little village downtown, which was great to have her there. And I'll speak for you for just a minute. She got a tour of many of the facilities. She went out to the Haverstock transmission. So she got a real feel for what we have in the North Country in terms of New York Power Authority. And it was good to have her there. The plan that day was to talk about emerging risk and to get an update on cybersecurity. The emerging risk segment covered the results of recent third-party maturity assessment of the emerging risk program. It provided an overview of selected emerging risks from the watch list. And a little aside, I didn't even know what emerging risks were until we tackled this. So it was really good to know that this is also something the team is watching for us. The maturity assessment indicated strong program elements and pockets of excellence. It identified areas of improvement, including enhanced cross-functional information sharing and introducing scenario analysis. We talked about 5 trending watch list items, and we looked really closely into one, including how the authority's posture and potential mitigations. One of the focuses, I think, for Alexis that became apparent in that committee meeting, I think everybody felt that way, is the level of communication at the Power Authority for all of the different areas coming to the table on a regular basis to keep everybody up to date, to talk about what's happening. And that was impressive. And I think that was encouraging to me as a trustee that this is happening on a regular basis. Everybody's taking a look, everybody's communicating, everybody's talking about it, which has got to be a key factor for all risk and resilience. With cybersecurity, it was kind of it built a little bit on Rob Lee's presentation from our May meeting. We talked about cyber capabilities, functional exercises to enhance readiness and to respond and reduce impact to the business, resiliency, recoverability of systems. So that was very helpful as well. And I think we all benefited from that first meeting. I think we have a great leader in Alexis. She's certainly leading the way and bringing us all in the know. She's helping make sure we're aware, and she certainly has her finger on the pulse. Nothing that we did that day required any items for a vote or any resolutions. And our next meeting is scheduled for September 17th.
Yeah, the meeting was a good opportunity for us to go a little further in depth and drill deeper. Obviously, risk management or oversight, important responsibility of any board, and hence it's a standard item on our regular agendas here. But the committee gives us an opportunity to drill a little deeper, and appreciate your leadership, Cecily, and thank you for the report out. Next up is our consent agenda item, which hopefully everyone's had a chance to peruse and review as we typically do. I want to give Maribel a chance to highlight whatever she thinks is notable there. Much of the consent agenda is our economic development initiatives and the awards that are offered there under the wide range of programs that we have available to support our customers and constituents. Maribel, your thoughts? Want to editorialize for a few minutes?
Yes. I'll be brief, but I'll highlight some very important key aspects that stand out for us. This morning, the team tells me that we believe this is a record-breaking board meeting where we are presenting 10 items for review. So a lot of activity, which is a great sign, right? So it's not just it's not just new customers coming into the state, it's also the extension of existing contracts, which to me, I've said in prior board meetings, is a great sign of repeat customers, right? Signing up for another 7-year term. And so I'm going to just highlight 3 very quick allocations. The first that I'd like to go over is the Muni Co-op IDP allocation. We don't get to see that at every board meeting like our other economic development programs. This is recommending Oxbow International Corporation to grow in the village of Virgin. They are proposing to construct a 180 to 200,000 square foot manufacturing facility, investing $55 million in capital for the construction of a new facility in Virgin and purchase new machinery and equipment. Now, this company was founded in 1969 and has grown into an international company specializing in the production of high-tech farming equipment. International is what we want to hear in New York State. In addition to the 150 existing current jobs, there's a proposal to grow an additional 60 new positions. And this program exceeds the minimum 25 jobs per megawatt, which is part of the IADP guidelines. It's actually measuring at about 82 jobs per megawatt, which is fantastic. The second is our Power Proceeds program. So we have been to the board a few times on our Western New York Power Proceeds program. We're bringing 3 new recommendations here for a total of $1.9 million, which is leveraging $23 million worth of projects. But the deep dive that I'd like to go to is our Northern New York Power Proceeds. That we don't get to see very often. The last time we came to the board was in early last year. So we're very proud to highlight that we have an award at its June 5th meeting. The Northern New York Power Proceeds Allocation Board expressed its support for the business Natural Insulation Products America under the business attraction work stream. So $1.2 million are recommended to their project that has a total cost of $6 million that will establish a North American production facility in Messina, New York for its globally patented thin down, natural down fabric. A few uses for this. It'll serve the fashion industry, apparel, defense, outdoors, hunting and fishing markets in North America. So they are also investing in hiring and training the personnel to operate and maintain the machinery. So maybe a little NYPA swag with a little bit of thin down material in a couple of years. And these will be creating 45 jobs in the Messina area. Last one to highlight is the RNY Power Award recommendations. This is where I mentioned that it's a combination of new and existing. The one thing I want to highlight here is the introduction of 9 new customers that are in disadvantaged communities, and one happens to be an MWBE, also located in a disadvantaged community. I will wrap up by saying that even though we're very proud to bring these items to you, every month or at every board meeting. This one is especially special because we actually get to have Vince Esposito in the room, which is not very common. Vince has been a tremendous partner to us, me personally for more than 10 years. He is our quality assurance person. He is our legislative counsel and makes sure that all of these trustee items are as stellar as they are. And he's been a wonderful mentor. So as I wrap up this highlight of our consent items, I just want to thank you personally for your support all these years. Thanks, Vince. We're excited to welcome these new customers with your approval.
Appreciate that drive-by and recap, and we'll all have a few things to say about Vince in a couple minutes as well. So unless there's any other comments or questions regarding the consent agenda, I'd ask for a motion to approve the materials as presented. Louis, thank you. Second. Thank you, Cecily. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Well, as Maribel just referenced and just alluded, before we close the meeting, we have a couple departures from our organization that we want to give some special recognition for Vince, as well as Joe Leary. So two people that have contributed immensely to the success of this organization over an extended period of time. And while a short presentation and a few words doesn't do justice to their contributions, we nonetheless want to attempt to express our appreciation and acknowledgement. So, Justin, I'll let you and Lori kick us off.
Thank you, Chairman. Morning, Joe. Good to see you here. Just want to take a moment to recognize the contribution that Joe Leary has made to the Power Authority and most recently to the Canal Corporation over his long and distinguished career. Joe and I started working together when I was general counsel, and we developed a very close relationship. And then since October of 2021, we've worked even closer together when I took on the role of president and CEO. And most recently, Joe served as my senior advisor before his retirement announcement recently. As I think we all know, Joe is an institution here at the Power Authority. He is part of our brand and part of the reason why we're so respected in the industry and why this is such a great place to work. So obviously want to thank Joe for his contributions and maybe just reference a few of his accomplishments if I could.
Please.
Maybe not.
Only a good one.
Joe began his career with NYPA in 1992 as the Senior Federal Affairs Officer in our Washington, D.C. office when we had such an office, working on such important legislative issues as the implementation of the Clean Air and the Clean Water Acts in Washington. He was promoted to Vice President for Community Affairs in 2000. And Joe took on a leading role in communications and stakeholder outreach to win the support for the swift construction of the NYPA small clean power plants or peaker plants throughout New York City, which he will remind us was done in less than 1 year. Couldn't have been done without Joe and his team. Joe championed and led projects related to the maintenance, upgrades, and new construction of our many visitor centers, including Hawkins Point, the McAndrew Nature Center, Niagara Power Vista, BG's Visitor Center in Lansing Manor, and most recently, the John S. Dyson New York Energy Zone in Utica. Together, these visitor centers have entertained and educated nearly 8 million visitors over the years and helped put NYPA's best foot forward to the public through holiday events, educational programming, and community gatherings. Joe coordinated with the Office of the New York Governor and other emergency response organizations for NYPA's boots on the ground response to several unprecedented natural and man-made disasters, including terrorist attacks on September 11th, tropical storms Irene and Lee in upstate New York, Superstorm Sandy, and Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. So I'd like to personally thank Joe for his support and his contribution to the authority. We all wish him the best of luck in his retirement. I'd like to read a brief letter from Governor Hochul that she wanted Joe to have. Dear Joe, it is my pleasure to extend congratulations on your retirement from the New York Power Authority. Throughout your accomplished career, you have dedicated yourself to the New York Power Authority's mission to provide reliable, efficient, and clean energy services to the residents across the state. Your commitment to professional excellence and success of your fellow employees enabled you to rise to the position of Vice President of Community and Governmental Relations while maintaining public safety during times of crisis. NYPA's historic fight against climate change has been made stronger through your experience, expertise, and educational outreach for the good of our communities. I am grateful for your outstanding work as well as your dedication to creating a safer, more prosperous state. Best wishes for good health and happiness in the years to come. Sincerely, Governor Kathy Hochul.
I can only echo those sentiments, Joe, from all of us as a board. Others can certainly weigh in. My time of tenure here, you just represent, you epitomize who is NYPA and what we all aspire to be. I think we all feel a connection, to you and with you. You've been there for us. You've represented us. You've guided and steered us in a better direction. You've counseled us, enabled us to help you counsel others, and it's definitely been a win-win dynamic. So we're forever indebted to your service and forever value the friendship and the relationship that we've all been able to build over the years. So I can't thank you for all you've done for NYPA, for me, for us as a board over many, many years, a short 32 years as I listen to it. And you've clearly left us so much better than you found us. So thank you very, very much for great work and incredible time and tenure, and really setting the bar high for who we are and what we're about.
Thank you, Trustee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
As we do, we've got a official proclamation and resolution that we want to have Justin and the team come up here. We can have a series of photo ops or whatever. Yeah, sure.
Do the chair. Do the chair, Justin.
Yeah.
First.
Can you guys just tilt the proclamation
down a little bit? So reflect off of that. Get my belly in behind it. I'll give you a hand. Give him a handshake.
I'm sorry. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Get the whole gang in
Can
here.
we get the whole gang in?
Here, step up a little bit.
How are you?
Good.
Step up.
I missed your question. Is can we get you?
Joe.
Here, step right in front.
Been pretty good.
Good. Can everyone just take like 2 steps this way? Yep.
Yep, I'm good.
Looks like a mugshot, Joe.
Would be the first. Louis, come forward, and Cecily, come forward a little bit. And there you go. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for getting the whole medal.
Want to offer a couple words on your way out?
One last story.
Come on, Joe.
Thank you all. Some of my favorite people are in this room and are watching. I have been so fortunate. I needed a port in a storm 32 years ago, and I found a home. And I am the lucky one. And the Power Authority does such great work for the people of New York. It is so vitally important that we continue our mission, and we are on the right course for the future. Stay the course.
Maribel already set the table. Another incredibly significant contributor, much more behind the scenes, at least for many of us, but just as important and just as critical to our success has been Vincent Esposito. So, Lori, Justin.
I'd love to talk about them. I never really got an opportunity to work with Vince much, until I stepped into the interim general counsel role. Our areas of practice did not, overlap too much. But once I stepped into this role and I got to work with Vince, every day, I understood how smart he was. I understood how dedicated and committed he was. He has had a hand or a pen on every piece of legislation since he joined the Power Authority in 2009. He's been working, as you say, Chair, behind the scenes, but he has been a tremendous advocate for the Power Authority in expanding our authority, in creating, economic development programs, recharge and everything else so that we can continue to benefit the state of New York through all of our good works. He helped with the canal integration, and nobody will hold that against him. No offense. And he also obviously was a very big hand in writing the expanded authority, which is a game changer for all of us. And for that, you will always be remembered. I call Vince my work husband because I talk to him often, and he doesn't talk back to me, which is always appreciated. So I told Vince that I was going to have to go through a little therapy to get used to not having Vince around, but I'm working on it. But Vince has been a tremendous, tremendous source for everybody in the Power Authority, legal and all of the other business units. When there's a question about statutory authority, everybody goes to Vince. He's great. I will say he is irreplaceable. And I will miss you terribly, Vince, but I really appreciate your intelligence, your commitment, your dedication. He would work tirelessly for the Power Authority with regard to legislation. So thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Vince and I obviously worked very closely together when I was general counsel, and I just want to add that there's no one more respected in Albany in terms of legislative work and just the work of government than Vince. He's quietly a resource for people across all of state government, and obviously was tremendous support for me and for the authority. So I just wanted to personally also thank you, Vince, for all your hard work and your friendship, and we wish you the best of luck in retirement.
I think the ultimate compliment for behind the scenes intellect and talent is that they're behind the scenes and never have to come front and center. There was just implicit trust from all of us around the board table that whatever was happening was being navigated in an effective and appropriate and correct fashion. And Vince, you're that guiding light and forever, steering us. You're the little bit of that Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain. And the good news is we never had to pull back the curtain. And so that's a credit to you. And this is the one time we have an opportunity to very openly and publicly thank you for that mentorship, the guidance. As Laurie and Justin have already, said, the incredible respect that you've earned and much deserved, not only across this organization, but across the state as well. So thank you so much. And we obviously wish you all the best in the years ahead when hopefully the stress level comes down a little bit and you're able to relax and enjoy all that life holds for you. So thank you again on behalf of all of us. And please come forward so we can give you due recognition as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Okay. So good. Well, you can hold it, yeah. I'll give you the handshake.
Thank you.
Okay. Want the rest of the team up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck in your retirement.
Thank you.
Thanks, congratulations.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, okay. He's got lots of things.
Cecily, come on up in here.
Just come forward just a little bit.
And tilt it down a little bit. There you go. One more.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any parting remarks or thoughts?
Well, it's been a heck of a ride. I want to express my appreciation to Lori and Justin in particular for the confidence they put in me all these years. I think we've accomplished a lot. NYPA is a fantastic place to work, and to get this kind of recognition is really a bonus on top of being part of a very special team. And so I think, what makes NYPA special, which I've always appreciated, is the congeniality of the team working together, clear vision for what we're trying to accomplish, and management's guidance on where the organization should go and how its employees, including the law department, can help guide it. It's just hard to believe it's all over. Rumor has it you're not quite rid of me yet, but I
have her for a little longer.
Yeah. I appreciate it, and it's been a life-changing experience for me, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
And I assume this is Mrs. Esposito. Yeah. Congratulations. He's all yours now.
I'm the work wife. We're sharing.
Division of responsibilities.
Thank you for sharing it with us. So much appreciated. All right, unless there's any other matters that come before us, those two celebrations conclude today's meeting. We'll be back together again in a couple months, latter part of September, with a couple committee meetings in between. And with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn today's session. Lori, thank you. Dennis, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Have a great last couple of days of July. Happy August, and enjoy Labor Day weekend. And we'll see you come football season. All right. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.